Don't let anyone see this, Taehyung whispered sharply, his voice low but trembling. The van was silent, only the faint hum of the engine filling the air. Jungkook, exhausted after the long day at the beach, had fallen asleep, his head resting on Taehyung's shoulder, dangerously close, too close. A staff member in the front seat was holding a small camera, lens tilted back just enough to catch what no one was supposed to see. Taehyung's heart pounded. He wanted to push Jungkook away, to protect him, to protect both of them. But his hand froze. Jungkook's breathing was steady, his weight warm, and Taehyung couldn't bring himself to move. He leaned closer, whispering again, this time to himself. Why now, Jungkook, why now? The staff member caught his eyes in the rearview mirror. Should I stop recording? They mouthed silently. Taehyung clenched his jaw, whispering back without sound. Delete it, but the camera stayed on. Hyung, Jungkook murmured in his sleep, almost inaudible, almost like a plea. The sound shattered Taehyung's resolve. He froze, every nerve alive. It wasn't just the way Jungkook said it, it was the weight behind it. Like a secret he had been carrying in silence. Taehyung's mind raced. If he knew what this did to me, if anyone knew. He leaned his head back against the window, eyes locked on the ceiling of the van, trying to steady his breath. Memories of their arguments, their unspoken tension, the nights when words had almost spilled but never did. Everything came rushing back. Taehyung, the staff finally spoke, breaking the silence. Their tone was low but firm. Do you want me to delete this, or is this something you want to keep? Taehyung's head snapped up. Delete it. Now. But Jungkook stirred, opening his eyes just a fraction, whispering something that made everyone freeze. Don't let go. The van went silent again. Taehyung swallowed hard. You're awake. Jungkook didn't answer. His eyes fluttered shut again, but his hand, clutching the edge of Taehyung's sleeve, betrayed him. Taehyung felt his chest tighten, both fear and longing crashing together. He turned to the staff with a sharp glare. Not a word about this. To anyone. The staff nodded, reluctantly lowering the camera. Fine. But Taehyung, you can't keep hiding forever. Whatever this is, it's not just one-sided. Taehyung looked back at Jungkook, whose head was still resting against him, his grip on Taehyung's sleeve tightening unconsciously. His heart twisted at the sight. If only you knew how much I've been holding back. The van continued down the empty road, the night swallowing their secret whole. Why did you tell them to delete it? The question came out of nowhere, sharp and sudden. Jungkook's voice was low, almost hoarse from pretending to be asleep for too long. Taehyung stiffened. His whole body tensed as if the weight of the world pressed down on him. He hadn't expected Jungkook to wake up, or worse, to hear. You weren't supposed to, Taehyung started, but Jungkook cut him off. Don't lie to me, Hyung. Jungkook lifted his head slowly, the space between them charged, unbearable. His eyes searched Taehyung's face with something raw, something that made Taehyung want to look away. The van was still moving, but everything inside felt frozen. The staff up front pretended to scroll through their phone, but the tension was suffocating. Why? Jungkook asked again, this time softer, almost vulnerable. Was it embarrassing? Me falling asleep on you? Taehyung exhaled sharply, dragging a hand through his hair. You don't get it. Then explain. The challenge in Jungkook's tone was unmistakable. He wasn't asking, he was demanding. Taehyung turned to him, eyes burning with something close to frustration, close to desperation. You think it's just about falling asleep? Do you have any idea what people would say if they saw that clip? Do you know how much one moment could destroy? Jungkook's lips parted, but he didn't reply. He knew Taehyung was right. And yet, the silence between them spoke louder than any scandal could. You're scared, Jungkook said finally, his voice steady now. Not for me. For yourself. Taehyung's head snapped toward him. That's not fair. Isn't it? Jungkook leaned closer, his tone sharper than before. All these years, Hyung, you've acted like nothing mattered, like we were just brothers, just colleagues. But every time you push me away, you look at me like you're breaking apart inside. Taehyung swallowed hard. His throat was dry, his chest tight. Stop. No, Jungkook's voice cracked. I can't stop. Not anymore. The staff member finally spoke, their voice hesitant, trying to cut through the storm. You too. Maybe you should talk about this later. Not here. but Jungkook ignored them. His eyes were still locked on Taehyung, burning with something he could no longer hide. Hyung, answer me honestly. Just once. Do you feel it too? Taehyung's breath hitched. His fingers curled into fists against his knees. He wanted to scream yes, to admit every sleepless night, every word he'd swallowed down. But the van felt like a trap, like every wall was closing in. You shouldn't ask me that, he whispered, voice breaking. Then I'll keep asking until you do, Jungkook shot back. Because I can't carry this alone anymore. The silence that followed was unbearable. The hum of the engine, the faint rustle of someone shifting in the seat. It all felt like background noise to a confession that hung between them like a blade. Taehyung finally looked away, out the dark window. Some truths are too dangerous, Jungkook. But Jungkook reached forward, grabbing his wrist. The contact sent a shiver through him, a reminder that danger had never felt this much like home. Then let me carry the danger with you, Jungkook whispered. And for the first time in years, Taehyung had no reply. The van pulled up to the dorm. The night air was heavy, the silence even heavier. No one spoke as the door slid open. Jungkook climbed out first, his jaw tight, refusing to look at Taehyung. Taehyung followed slowly, dragging his feet as if each step carried the weight of everything unsaid between them. But inside the van, the staff member hesitated. Their phone was in their pocket, still warm from recording. They hadn't deleted the clip. They couldn't. Something about that moment felt too real, too raw to erase. They locked the van and followed the boys inside, their heartbeat quickening with the knowledge of the secret burning in their pocket. Inside the dorm, the atmosphere was tense. The other members had already gone to their rooms, leaving Taehyung and Jungkook alone in the living room. Jungkook broke the silence first. You didn't answer me, Hyung. Taehyung let out a long, tired sigh, rubbing the back of his neck. Because there's no answer I can give you without destroying everything we've built. Stop using everything as an excuse, Jungkook snapped. His voice echoed in the empty room. What about me? What about what I feel? Do I not matter in this so-called everything you keep protecting? Taehyung turned sharply, eyes narrowing. Don't twist this. Of course you matter. You matter more than anyone. Then say it. Jungkook stepped closer, his fists clenched. Say you feel the same. Say it to my face. Taehyung's throat tightened. His lips parted, but no words came. He wanted to God, he wanted to. But the walls around his heart were built too high, too strong. You can't, can you? Jungkook's voice cracked, his anger giving way to hurt. You'd rather keep me in the dark than risk losing control. Taehyung's silence was answer enough. Fine, Jungkook whispered, shaking his head. If you won't admit it, then I'll stop asking. But don't think I don't know. Don't think I haven't seen the way you look at me. He turned and stormed toward his room, slamming the door behind him. Taehyung stood frozen in the middle of the room, his chest heaving, his hands trembling. He wanted to run after Jungkook, to hold him, to confess everything. But his fear rooted him in place. That's when the staff member's voice cut through the silence. Taehyung. He turned sharply. What? The staff hesitated, then pulled out their phone. I didn't delete it. Taehyung's eyes widened. What the hell are you saying? I couldn't, they admitted. That moment. It's too powerful. Too real. You need to see it for yourself. They unlocked the phone and held it out. On the screen, the video played. Jungkook's head resting against Taehyung's shoulder, his hand gripping his sleeve, his lips forming the words "Don't let go." Hyung's breath caught in his throat. Seeing it from the outside made it even more dangerous. It wasn't just a private moment, it was proof. Delete it. Now, Taehyung growled, his voice low, threatening. The staff shook their heads slowly. You think this is just about you? No, this is bigger. People need to see the truth you keep hiding. Taehyung's fists clenched. If this leaks, Jungkook will get hurt. I'll get hurt. The group will. The group will survive. The staff cut in. But the two of you? You're suffocating under secrets. This video is the key. Taehyung stared at them, his pulse racing. If you even think about releasing it, I swear. But the staff slipped the phone back into their pocket, smiling faintly. You won't do anything. Because deep down you want the world to know. Taehyung stood there, trembling with rage and fear. For the first time he realized he wasn't just fighting Jungkook's feelings. He was fighting against time, against exposure, against the truth itself, and somewhere behind the closed door, Jungkook sat on his bed, his hands pressed over his face, whispering the same words again and again. Don't let go. Please, Hyung. Don't let go. It was nearly midnight when Yoongi walked into the kitchen for a glass of water. He wasn't expecting to find anyone there, least of all the staff member sitting alone at the table, scrolling through their phone. The glow from the screen caught Yoongi's eye. He paused, his instincts sharp as always. Something about the way the staff tilted the phone, clutching it too tightly, made him suspicious. What are you watching? Yoongi asked casually, his voice cutting through the silence. The staff jumped, fumbling to lock the screen. Nothing. Just checking messages. Yoongi raised a brow. Messages that make you flinch like you've been caught stealing? The staff forced a laugh. You're imagining things. Yoongi didn't push, but his eyes lingered. Careful. Secrets don't last long in this house. He grabbed his water and left, but his mind was already racing. Meanwhile, behind the closed door of his room, Jungkook lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The words he had thrown at Taehyung earlier replayed in his head like broken glass. Say you feel the same. Say it. But Taehyung hadn't. He had chosen silence again. The thought twisted Jungkook's chest. He reached for his phone, scrolling through their old photos together. Laughing at concerts, joking during practice, those candid moments when Taehyung's gaze lingered a little too long. Jungkook pressed his thumb against one photo, whispering bitterly to himself, "You'll never admit it, will you?" The door creaked open. Taehyung stepped inside, hesitant. His eyes darted toward Jungkook, who didn't even bother sitting up. "What do you want?" Jungkook's tone was cold. Taehyung exhaled slowly. "To talk." "We already talked," Jungkook shot back. "And you said nothing." Taehyung stepped closer, his voice rough. "Because I'm terrified, Jungkook. Do you understand that? Terrified of ruining everything. Our group, our lives, you." Jungkook finally sat up, his eyes blazing. "And what about me? You think I'm not scared? You think this doesn't eat me alive every single day?" The air between them crackled. Taehyung looked like he was about to break, his hands trembling as if holding back words he had buried too deep. "Hyung," Jungkook whispered, now softer, almost broken. "If you don't say it, I'll walk away. I can't keep living like this." The silence stretched. Then Taehyung stepped forward, so close their breaths mingled. The door burst open. Yoongi stood there, eyes dark, jaw tight. "What the hell is going on between you two?" Both froze, caught like criminals. Jungkook's face drained of color. Taehyung turned, searching for an excuse, but Yoongi's expression said he wouldn't accept lies. "You think no one notices?" Yoongi continued, voice low and sharp. "You're playing with fire. And fire spreads fast." Neither of them spoke. Jungkook's chest rose and fell rapidly. Taehyung's fists clenched at his sides. Yoongi stepped closer, his voice dropping even lower. "I don't care what you do behind closed doors. But if that staff member shows me what I think I saw on their phone, you're both finished." Jungkook's eyes widened. "You saw?" Yoongi cut him off. "I didn't see it. Yet. But I will. And when I do, you'd better pray it never leaves this dorm." He slammed the door shut, leaving the two of them in stunned silence. Jungkook turned back to Taehyung, his voice trembling. "He knows." Taehyung's face was pale. His worst fear was no longer just a possibility, it was standing right outside their door. And somewhere in the staff's pocket, the recording still waited, glowing like a ticking time bomb. Yoongi didn't sleep. He sat in the dim light of the living room, waiting. He knew the staff would eventually come back down, phone in hand. And when they did, Yoongi's voice sliced through the silence. "Show me." The staff froze at the doorway. "Show you what?" "Don't play stupid with me." Yoongi leaned forward, eyes like steel. "You recorded something in that van. Something you shouldn't have. Give me the phone." The staff hesitated, gripping the device tighter. "You don't understand. This isn't just some meaningless clip. It's proof." "Proof of what?" Yoongi snapped. The staff swallowed hard. That Taehyung and Jungkook. That what everyone suspects isn't just in their imagination. Yoongi's jaw clenched. He stood slowly, his presence suddenly towering. "Delete it. Now. They need this," the staff argued. "They're suffocating." You see it too, don't you? They're drowning in silence. Maybe if people knew. Yoongi slammed his hand on the table, making the staff flinch. If this gets out, it won't free them. It will destroy them. And I won't let you ruin everything we've worked for. The staff's hands trembled over the phone. You're protecting the wrong thing. Sometimes the truth deserves to be seen. Yoongi's glare darkened. And sometimes the truth is the sharpest weapon. Don't test me. Upstairs, Jungkook pressed his ear against the door, catching fragments of their voices. His stomach churned. He turned back to Taehyung, eyes wild. He knows. He really knows. Taehyung raked his hands through his hair, pacing the room. I told you this was dangerous. 1 moment, 1 second of weakness, and now everything is hanging by a thread. Don't call it weakness, Jungkook snapped, his voice breaking. Don't you dare. Taehyung stopped, chest heaving. His lips parted, but Jungkook was already pushing forward, fists clenched at his sides. You think I regret it? Resting on your shoulder? Whispering your name in my sleep? Jungkook's voice cracked. I don't. Not one bit. The only thing I regret is that you keep treating it like a crime. Taehyung's eyes burned. He wanted to yell, to break, to confess. But the walls inside him screamed louder. You don't understand what's at stake. Then make me understand. Jungkook shouted. Or maybe you're just too much of a coward to admit what you feel. The words hung heavy, sharp enough to cut through both of them. Taehyung's fist trembled, his throat tight. Downstairs, the argument between Yoongi and the staff reached its climax. The staff finally hissed. If you want it gone so badly, take the phone yourself. They tossed it onto the table. Yoongi grabbed it, scrolling until the cursed video played once more. The image of Jungkook asleep on Taehyung's shoulder, his lips forming "Don't let go," Yoongi's jaw locked. He held the phone for a long moment, then pressed delete. But even after the video vanished, he didn't look relieved. Is that the only copy? He asked coldly. The staff didn't answer. Yoongi leaned in closer, voice dark. If I find out you kept another copy, you're finished. Understand? The staff's silence was all the answer he needed. Yoongi stormed upstairs, stopping outside Taehyung and Jungkook's door. His hand hovered over the handle, but he didn't open it. Instead, he whispered under his breath. You two better figure this out before it eats you alive. Inside, Jungkook sat on the edge of the bed, trembling, while Taehyung stood at the window, refusing to turn around. Neither spoke. The silence was louder than any confession could be. The morning came heavy, suffocating, as if the dorm itself was holding its breath. Jungkook hadn't slept. Taehyung hadn't either. Their silence had stretched through the night, broken only by the faint sound of Yoongi's door opening and closing hours before dawn. Jungkook's chest felt tight. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Yoongi's shadow, heard his words. You two better figure this out before it eats you alive. But there was no time to figure anything out. Because somewhere in the dark of another room, the staff member stared at their second phone, the one Yoongi hadn't touched. The clip was still there. Jungkook's head on Taehyung's shoulder. The whispered words, "Don't let go." And with one trembling hand, the staff hit send. Not to the public. Not yet. But to someone who shouldn't have it. A friend outside the circle, someone curious, someone careless. Hours later, in the middle of rehearsal, Namjoon's phone buzzed. His brows furrowed as he opened the message. His throat tightened when he saw the thumbnail. "Hyung?" Jimin asked softly, catching the shift in his expression. Namjoon didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, watching the few seconds loop, Jungkook's lips moving around those devastating words. His hands grew cold. On the other side of the room, Jungkook and Taehyung were rehearsing their steps, avoiding each other's eyes. Neither of them noticed Namjoon's silence, or the way Hoseok glanced over and instantly read the storm in his leader's face. Namjoon finally slipped his phone into his pocket and forced rehearsal to continue, but his mind was spiraling. How had this left their walls? How much longer before it spread further? That night, he confronted Yoongi privately. You said you deleted it? Namjoon whispered harshly, throwing the phone onto the table. Yoongi's eyes narrowed. Where did you get this? Someone sent it to me. Someone outside. Namjoon's voice trembled with restrained fury. It's not gone, Yoongi. It's already leaking. Yoongi's jaw tightened. For the first time, his certainty cracked. Meanwhile, upstairs, Jungkook stood at Taehyung's door, his knuckles hovering, his chest shaking with words he hadn't yet dared to say. He wanted to knock, to tell him that everything was slipping out of their hands, that hiding wasn't protecting them anymore. It was burying them alive. But before he could move, the door opened. Taehyung stood there, eyes tired, voice quiet. "I heard Namjoon. I know." Their eyes locked, and in that instant, the air was sharp with fear and something deeper, something raw and uncontainable. "If this gets out," Taehyung's voice faltered. "It's already out," Jungkook whispered back. "And maybe that's the only way we'll ever stop pretending." The silence after those words was like a thunderclap. Taehyung's breath caught, Jungkook's chest rose and fell too fast. Downstairs, Namjoon and Yoongi were still locked in tense silence, staring at the glowing screen where the forbidden moment looped again and again, impossible to erase, and somewhere outside their walls, the video waited like a spark, ready to ignite everything. It started small, just one anonymous account on a fan forum. The clip wasn't even full, just a few seconds, grainy, shaky. But it was enough. Jungkook's head resting against Taehyung's shoulder, the words barely audible, "Don't let go." By the time the members woke up, the video had already spread like wildfire. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, different captions, different angles of speculation. Some fans defended them instantly. "It's just friendship. Stop reading too much into it." Others fueled the flames. "No, you can see it. That's not friendship. That's something else." And then came the threats, the betrayals, the hashtags climbing. Jungkook sat on the couch with his phone in his trembling hands, scrolling, reading the comments. His stomach twisted with every word. He wanted to throw the device across the room, but he couldn't stop himself. Taehyung stormed in, snatched the phone from his grip, and slammed it onto the table. "Stop reading that trash. It's everywhere, Hyung." Jungkook's voice cracked. "They're tearing us apart." Taehyung ran a hand through his hair, pacing, his breath harsh. "We can survive this. We've been through worse." "No, this is different." Jungkook's words cut through, trembling with something deeper than fear. "Because it's true." Taehyung froze. The air between them grew sharp, heavy. For a moment, it felt like the whole house stopped breathing. Upstairs, Namjoon was on a call with management, his voice low but urgent. "Damage control won't work if the video keeps spreading. We need to find the source. Now." Yoongi leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes shadowed. "It's not about the source anymore. It's out. You can't erase it now. You either silence it, or you face it." "Face it?" Namjoon hissed. "Do you even realize what that means? It could end everything we've built." Yoongi's reply was quiet but unyielding. "Or maybe it saves them from destroying themselves." Meanwhile, Jimin slipped into the living room, where Jungkook and Taehyung stood inches apart, their voices shaking with everything unspoken. He didn't say a word at first, just watched, torn between loyalty and fear. Finally, he whispered, "What do you two want? Forget the fans, forget management. What do you actually want?" Jungkook turned to him, eyes burning, as if the question itself was unbearable. "I just want to stop hiding," he said. "I want to breathe." Taehyung's fists tightened at his sides, his gaze locked on the floor. His silence was louder than any confession. Outside, the world was spinning faster. News outlets had begun to pick up the clip. Headlines blurred across screens. BTS members in controversial video? Taehyung and Jungkook. Just friends or something more? The line between idols and personal lives crossed again. The phones wouldn't stop buzzing. The staff scrambled. Management prepared statements. But in the middle of all the chaos, Jungkook and Taehyung stood still, their secret no longer theirs to keep. And for the first time, Jungkook didn't look afraid. He looked ready. The conference room was suffocating, its polished walls reflecting nothing but tension. The members sat in silence, eyes lowered, while the executives lined the other side of the table. Phones buzzed, documents shuffled, but no one dared to speak until the CEO himself leaned forward. "Do you have any idea what this video has done?" His voice was calm, almost too calm, the kind of calm that preceded a storm. "The sponsors are calling. The networks are questioning contracts. And the fans, half of them are rioting, the other half are leaving." Jungkook clenched his fists under the table. Taehyung sat rigid beside him, his jaw tight. Namjoon tried to break the silence. We can explain it. Frame it as a misunderstanding. We've done it before. No, the CEO cut him off sharply. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a scandal. And scandals require sacrifice. The word sacrifice hung in the air like a blade. What are you saying? Jin's voice trembled slightly, but his eyes burned. The CEO folded his hands, deliberate and cold. Either they deny everything and we bury this, or one of them steps away from the group, temporarily if necessary. The choice is yours. Jungkook shot up from his seat, voice breaking. You can't decide that. This is our life, our group. Sit down. The CEO's tone was final. Or I will decide for you. The room erupted. Jimin slammed his hand on the table. You can't just throw us away like we're disposable. Yoongi's voice cut in, low but sharp. You think burying the truth will save you? It'll come back twice as strong. Enough. The CEO stood, towering over them. You have 48 hours. Deny or divide. Those are your options. When the executives finally left, the silence was unbearable. Jungkook sank back into his chair, shaking. They want to erase us. No, Taehyung muttered, his voice flat, almost broken. They want to erase you. Jungkook turned to him, his eyes desperate. Then fight with me. Don't let them do this. Taehyung looked away, his throat tight, his silence cutting deeper than words. Namjoon rubbed his temples, his voice weary. If you two go public, if you stand against management, everything we've built could burn. And if we don't? Jimin whispered. Then what do we have left? Lies. The group fractured in that moment. Not with shouts, but with silence. Each of them pulled in different directions, loyalty clashing with fear, love colliding with survival. Later that night, Jungkook sat alone in the dorm's practice room, staring at the mirrored walls. He whispered to himself, barely audible. They can take everything, but they can't take this. Behind him, the door creaked open. Taehyung stepped inside, closing it softly. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the distance between them heavier than ever. Jungkook, Taehyung's voice broke. What if I'm not strong enough to fight this? Jungkook's answer came without hesitation. Then I'll fight for both of us. The words lingered, fragile yet unyielding, as the storm outside the walls of the room raged on. The van shook under the weight of screams outside. Paparazzi flashes tore through the tinted windows like lightning, each shutter a gunshot of exposure. Fans pressed signs against the glass, some with hearts, others with accusations bold enough to make Jungkook's stomach twist. Inside, silence reigned. No one dared speak, but the tension was loud enough to deafen. The manager's voice cracked through the intercom. Stay calm. Don't roll the windows down. Don't react to anything. Taehyung sat stiffly, his hands buried in his lap. He didn't dare look at Jungkook, though the heat of his presence was impossible to ignore. A chant erupted outside, rhythmic and merciless. Truth, truth, truth. Jungkook finally broke. We can't keep doing this, he whispered, his voice hoarse. Namjoon shot him a glare. Not here. Not now. Why not now? Jungkook snapped louder this time. They're not chanting for a song. They're chanting for us. The van swerved through streets blocked by fans. Some held placards reading "Love is not a crime." Others held signs that said betrayal. The duality was suffocating. Reporters swarmed the sidewalks. Their voices bled through the van walls. Are the rumors true? Jungkook, do you love him? Taehyung, why won't you speak? Yoongi's voice cut low, sharp as glass. This isn't a fandom anymore. It's a battlefield. When they finally arrived at the venue, chaos awaited. Security barely managed to carve a path through the sea of fans. Cameras flashed like firecrackers. Questions were hurled with the desperation of a mob starving for blood. Jungkook stopped walking. He turned toward the crowd, chest heaving. Security tried to pull him forward, but he planted his feet. Jungkook, don't! Namjoon hissed. But Jungkook was already pulling the mic from a staff's hand, his voice cutting through the madness. Stop asking us to lie. Gasps rippled through the crowd, through the group, through Taehyung himself. Stop pretending like this is a scandal. Stop acting like love is poison. If the truth destroys everything, then maybe everything wasn't real to begin with. His voice cracked, raw and unapologetic. The silence that followed was seismic. Reporters froze. Fans stared. Even the members held their breath. Then from the back of the crowd, a single voice screamed, "We support you!" Another followed, then another. Soon, the chants turned into a wave. "We support you! We support you!" But not all joined. From the other side came a darker echo. "Traitors! Traitors!" The venue became a war zone of words. Love against hate, devotion against betrayal. Taehyung's chest tightened as he watched Jungkook stand under the storm, defiant and trembling. Every instinct screamed at him to move, to act, to protect. Finally, he stepped forward. He grabbed the mic from Jungkook's hand, not to silence him but to stand beside him. "I won't hide anymore." His voice was steady, his eyes unflinching. "If you hate us, hate me. If you love us, love him. But don't ask us to erase who we are." The crowd erupted, chaos splintering into noise that no one could control. Security swarmed. Staff shouted. The members looked on, torn between fear and awe. For the first time, Jungkook and Taehyung stood united. Not in whispers, not in shadows, but in the ruthless, blinding light of truth. The stage lights burned hotter than fire. The arena was packed, but the air felt divided, as if love and hate sat in the same chair, waiting to see which would win. Jungkook adjusted his earpiece with shaking hands. The screams of the crowd thundered, but he couldn't tell if they were cheering for him or waiting for him to fall. "Are you sure about this?" Jimin asked, his voice low, almost pleading. Jungkook didn't answer. His eyes stayed locked on the curtain, the invisible wall between them and millions of people. Fans, critics, reporters, enemies, maybe even former friends. Taehyung stepped closer, his shoulder brushing Jungkook's. "If you hesitate now, they'll eat you alive," he whispered. Jungkook turned to him, the weight of years in his stare. "And if I don't hesitate? Then we burn together." The cue came. The curtain rose. The roar was deafening, but it wasn't unified. Half the arena screamed with devotion, holding banners of support. The other half hurled insults that cut sharper than knives. The first song began. Jungkook sang, his voice trembling at first, but growing stronger with every note. Taehyung joined, their harmony so perfect it was almost cruel, because the audience couldn't unhear the truth buried inside it. Halfway through, Jungkook froze. He looked at the sea of faces, at the chaos of divided love. He thought of sleepless nights, whispered secrets, the fragile peace they had tried to keep. Then he thought of that moment in the van, his head on Taehyung's shoulder, the spark that started this inferno. Suddenly, he stepped forward. The music faded. The crowd gasped. "I have something to say." The other members tensed. Staff panicked backstage. But Jungkook didn't falter. "I'm tired of living like love is something shameful," he said, voice cutting through the arena. "I'm tired of lies, tired of pretending. If this is the end of everything we built, then so be it. At least it ends with the truth." The arena erupted. Screams, shouts, chants, chaos. An explosion of emotion that threatened to tear the roof apart. Taehyung walked to him slowly, deliberately. He took the mic, but instead of speaking, he turned to Jungkook. For a moment, silence cut through the storm. Then he said, "If you're going to burn, then I burn with you." And before the crowd could react, he pulled Jungkook into a tight embrace. Not hidden, not accidental, but deliberate and undeniable. Cameras flashed like gunfire. Reporters screamed. Fans sobbed. The world outside the arena shattered into fragments of love and hate that would be dissected for years to come. But on that stage, in that moment, nothing else mattered. Jungkook closed his eyes against Taehyung's shoulder, the same place this chaos had begun. He whispered, unheard by anyone but Taehyung, "Even if this is the last time, I don't regret it." Taehyung's reply was just as quiet. "Then let the world burn." The lights dimmed. The music swelled again. They sang, not for the industry, not for the headlines, but for each other. And though the future remained uncertain, those scars would remain. That night became the most unforgettable chapter in their story. The night they chose truth. The night they chose each other.